All right, guys. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. That I had to take that call. It was for my son. He had an appointment with a doctor that was on the computer. So anyway, she was calling me on this computer. All right. So here's my deal here. You would estimate that last digit. Okay. So if you look at this instrument gives us, for this measurement, gives us 5 significant digits, and each one we measured from the device. Okay, now we estimated the last one, but you're allowed to do that. You're supposed to do that. That's what makes it significant. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do right is in this box over here, I'm going to write down the value. Okay, which is 577.77 grams in this case. So this would be 577.77 grams. Okay. All right. Now we go over to this one over here. Okay. And if you look, it's 498 grams, but it's almost 0.9. So you see, look, you got to zoom in on this. Look at that. It's almost, but don't write 499. I would say that that little arrow is slightly off, 498.9, I would say 0.99 if I was doing this, okay? So if you get that, you'll see what I mean, okay? Like if you get what I'm trying to say with these measurements, okay? Now, what we're doing is making measurements, right? So here on this page, why did I mix this with significant digits, by the way? Is because significant digits are all about how you make measurements. Okay, so watch. Look at this ruler here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to try to measure how long that gray bar is. Okay, so I zoom in, and the nice thing about the computer is you can do this. All right, so obviously my first digit is a 7. Okay, now I count my decimal points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if I look at that, I would say that it's right on the dot. I'm going to erase this. It's right on the dot, right exactly at 7. So if I was going to write this number down, I would write 7.7, but then I put a 0, and my 0 is telling you that it's on the tick mark. It's right on the tick, okay? So if it was just a little hair past it, I would have written 7.71, right? So in other words, this ruler gives me this much precision. I get 2 decimal places from the ruler every time I use it, okay? Because that's how much precision it gives me. I'm supposed to estimate between these tick marks. And so I'm going to write some value down for that second decimal place every time. So it's right on the tick. Okay, so I would write it like this. Okay, it's on the dot. That's why I write the trailing 0. So remember we talked about significant digits. Do trailing zeros count after a decimal? Yes, because I don't have to write them, right? I could have just written 7.7. A bunch of you would have just write 7.7. You've got to put the 0 though, because what you're saying is you made this measurement, and that last 0 that you put 7.70, you're saying was right on the dot. Okay, so that's why this number is significant. Okay, it's significant because you measured it. You get it? You measured the 0. That's why you write it. Okay, now let's take a look at the other one. Now again, look at this. It looks like it's 1 right on the dot, right exactly on 1. Okay, so how are you going to write it? Well, it's 1.00. And students will say, why are you writing 2 zeros? Well, it's the same ruler, right? Okay, let me give you a sense of why you write the additional 0 there. Okay, let's say I go a little bit past this. Okay, let's say I go to here. So I zoom in on the ruler. I can't get any closer than that. Let's say we make this a little bit more, and we'll go right just a little bit past it. All right, so this number here is 1.1, right? That tick mark right there, maybe I'll color it red. That tick mark right there is 1.1. So I'm before 1.1. I'm in between, okay? So if you're between 1 and 1.1, how do you write it? Well, you're going to write maybe a number like this, 1.05. Maybe it's halfway between 1 and 1.1. And see, so if it was right on the dot on 1.1, I would have written a 0 there. Okay? So you're supposed to estimate that last decimal. Now, if you look at these two numbers, if you got the 7.7, and why I wrote the extra 0, I wrote it because it was exactly on the dot. Well, here, this is exactly on the dot again, but there's 2 decimal places here, 2, and that same ruler is going to give me 2 decimal places no matter where the measurement is, right? It's going to give me 2 decimal places. And so for this measurement here, let me erase all this. For this measurement here, it's exactly right on the dot, right on the tick mark. So I write 1.00. It's not, you know, the first digit 1.0 because it's right on the dot, 1. And it's not between any of the tick marks. So my last decimal is going to be another 0. Anyway, I hope you get that. It kind of makes sense. All right, now let me show you how you read a graduated cylinder. So this is the water line. So let's say you fill up this liquid container here. That is the water line. Now you're supposed to read from the bottom of the water line. So this water line is called the meniscus for reasons I don't understand. Okay, but you read from the bottom of it, not from the top edge. Okay, so now I'm going to put a little dotted line here. You don't read from the top edge. You read from the bottom edge of the water line. So you read the bottom edge. Now that bottom edge looks like it's between, now look, this is 20. So 20 is right here. 30 is right here. So that's 30.1. Okay. And it looks like it's past 0.1 though. I would say that this meniscus, let me erase all my lines because they're a bit hard to read. I would say that the bottom of the meniscus is maybe 30.18, I would say. So I would go 30.18 milliliters like that. Okay, reading from the bottom of the meniscus. Okay, so that's how you read a graduated cylinder. Now you can try this one. So 15 here, 20 here, so it's obviously past the 20 mark. And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, there's always 10 tick marks there. Okay, so if I'm reading this, this is 20 right there. That's 20.1, 20.2. So it's 20.26, 0.27 maybe. Say 20.27. Remember that the last digit is always an estimate, and you may not agree on that estimation. Okay, you might not agree with the person doing it, but it's definitely like so that some of you might write 0.6, some 0.7, some 0.8. They're all 3 are correct. So I could write 20.27, I think is the best number, milliliters. Or you could write 20.26. Or you could write 20.28. I don't think I would write anything outside of that. I don't think it's close enough to be 0.9. But you know, something like that. Okay, so you finish these, no problem, right? Okay, so you go ahead and do it. How do you read the dials here, or the thermometer? Same. Everything's the same. It's all the same principle. Estimating between the tick marks is the key point. Okay. All right, so look at this. Now here you got to be careful because this tick mark here, I'll color blue, this tick mark here is 70 kilopascals. So 60, 70, and they go up by 2s, right? So this is 72, 74, 76, 78, and 80. So these are all by 2s. They're not decimals anymore. So if you like, these are whole numbers, and I can estimate in between them, okay? So for example, that little dial seems just past the 70. So what are you going to say? Well, you can only estimate here, because they don't have decimals, you know, that goes up by 2s, you can only estimate to the nearest whole number, okay, on a scale like this. You can only go down to half of your smallest reading. Okay, so your smallest reading is 2, goes up by 2's. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on, right? So this one's 2, that one's 4. Well, half of 2 is 1, so we have to round to the nearest 1. So I would say that this is 71 kPa. Okay, and that's how you do that. All right, so if you have any questions about these guys, that should be good. Okay, please note the units. These temperature scales are in degrees Celsius, I believe. Yeah. All right, so now let's try one of these thermometer. The thermometer you would read exactly the same way that you read the meniscus, basically, except it's a straight line, so it's easier to read. All right, so this thermometer here, if you look at the values, 20, 30, again, they go up by 2's. So 32, 34, 36, 38, right? Or actually, it's, sorry, negative 30. This would be negative 20.8, negative 20 point, no, pardon me. This would be negative 28, negative 26, negative 24, negative 22, and then negative 20. So these are again by 2's. So you would round to the nearest degree. No decimals in this case. Okay. And how do you know if there's decimals or not? It goes by the graduation marks, right? So if there are decimals, like if you look at this meniscus here, there are decimals here because look, that's 2.1 right there, 2.2, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. So it's graduated down to individual milliliters, and you can read in between those marks. Well, here, this is graduated down to 2 degrees Celsius, and in between them would be 1's, okay? And so you only estimate to the nearest degree. All right, so that's how you do the measurement page. Okay, I'll let you finish these. Pretty straightforward. There's a bit of practice there for you, okay? And the test will have all of those sort of things in it. Now, there was one other page, actually a couple other pages, just practice. These are quick. Like this is a sort of example of maybe a quiz you might have. Like I said, multiplying or dividing, you use the number of sig figs. Adding and subtracting, you use the number of decimal places. Okay, so this sheet doesn't take very long, FYI. And then there's another practice sheet here. Yeah, pretty straightforward. Okay. Here, writing it in scientific notation, that's a blast from the past from last semester. So see if you can do that. And don't forget your rules, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Okay. All right then. So I hope you found these video tutorial helpful. Sorry it took so long. It's, or I mean to make, that I had to make 2 videos. I just got interrupted. All right, guys, have a good week. And we're going to have a quiz on this, I don't know, let's say Tuesday next week, roughly a week from today. And it'll be online like before. And yeah, I'm just going to have a bunch of random questions and like these. And you just have to write your answer down. Okay, it's very simple. No words are necessary. You're just going to be writing the numbers down. Okay, and you'll need a calculator and you'll need to know these rules, but it's open book. So you'll have the rules right there. I hope you understand it though. It's a very important concept moving forward. All right, have a good week, guys. We'll talk to you soon.